Hi, this video is to go over part two of the business analytics project. So specifically, this is part 2 of 4. So one of the things that you'll notice if you look at the documentation is this first portion of the description is the same as it was in the previous. Just keep that duplicated so we have a good overview of what the project is. What is changed is I have given you a new description of the data set. The most important thing here is that you are going to be building off of your file from the project part 1. And also for your reference, I've went ahead and I've included all of the information regarding the data set. This first portion was included in the file that you should have received. The second portion is what you should have calculated in part 1 of the project. If you haven't completed that, then you need to go back and finish that to be able to continue with this. All right, going on to the project to kind of move forward, what I want to make sure you do is that you save this as an Excel file with last name, first name appropriately. So let's go ahead and get started. Now what I have here is my project 1 file. And I'm going to go ahead and just go File. I'm going to go to Save As, Project, and I'm going to go ahead and name this as Project 2. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to put the suffix video because I already have a solution here, but I want to be able to show you how to get to that solution. So this is going to be video. Of course, yours is going to exclude this information. I had a few students ask a few questions. Make sure that you make sure the file type here is Excel. All right, and you don't need to type the XLSX if the save type as is Excel. You're going to be good to go. All right. Okay. Yes, I'm replacing the previous one. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just put April 2nd, 2020. This really doesn't matter. This is roughly when I did this anyway. But what's most important is that in this particular one, you have the today formula. Right, and that gives you the date that you're working on it. And when you print your or when you save this as a PDF, that date will give me a lock-in as to when you actually finished it. But this is when you start. All right. So let's go back to our descriptives. A couple things you should already have identified is that this number here is now at 3,000, and you should have your notation here as well to be able to determine what you've made changes to. All right. So let me show you a couple things. The first I want to be able to share with you is the formulas. You should be using all of these formulas, specifically the average, the median, standard deviation, S, min, max. You should have a function, a formula here. This is a formula. These are functions. I apologize. Count and sum. And this is what you should have for each individual area of your project. Okay, so we have all of those items here. Now, one of the things we want to get to, let's go back to the first part of this, is we want to be able to create this quarterly financial performance and this monthly financial performance. Now, if you take a look right here, the first header is the same, and you notice that everything is just sum, average, sum, average, sum, average. We've also included this component here, which gives us a count of the number of records based on the quarters in this particular one. So what's happening is that this first number is going to be the number of records that are in the first quarter. This should be second quarter and so forth. Down here is the month. So number 1 consists with corresponds to January, 6 for June, and 12 for December, and you know the gimmick there. So, and of course the numbers that are there in the count are corresponding. Now this percentage total is actually, if I were to take 725 and divide it by the total of all of these, which, by the way, should equal 3,000. We know it's 3,000 based on our descriptive statistics. that should all add up to 100%, but 725 divided by the total should be 24.2%. And here, when you look at the monthly, if I take something here like in June, 214, if I take the 214 divided by the total for all the months, it should be 7.1%. That's what that means. All right. So I'm going to actually do a couple things. It may be a little bit odd, but the purpose that I'm going to show you today is so we can get through it a little bit faster. So let's start with what we have to do here. I need to be able to create a worksheet that is named Quarter Monthly Financial Performance. All right, so I'm going to go back to my Excel. I'm going to create a new worksheet. I have to rename it Quarter Monthly Financial Performance. And going back here, it has Quarter Financial Performance. So type in Quarterly Financial Performance. Right, and then what I need also, and I'm going to steal it from here actually, is I need these headers. So let's go back here. Control V, and then also I need to know the quarter cost count, excuse me, and percent total. Okay, and actually I'm just going to move these suckers over here. One, I'm going to grab this, go to home. I'm going to paint that formatting across all these, right? And then you're going to notice I'm going to do something a little bit strange here. I'm going to just go ahead and put sum under all of these, just kind of making it look a little pretty. I'm going to make those a little smaller. There's a reason why I'm doing this, so just kind of bear with me. And then I want that to be a title. There we go. So I'm getting ready, quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know that's what it's going to be, so I'm okay with that. I'm going to also change the width of all these to 12. All right. Let's get into our formulas. I'm going to make this a width of 3 just so that way I can make it look pretty. All right. So what I want to do is I want to count the number of records that are in the quarter. Right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a formula. Should be familiar to you. It's the COUNTIF formula, and the COUNTIF formula actually has a couple options. Right. First, it wants to know the range to look up for a criteria to count. So we're going to first look at the range to count from, and then we're going to look at the criteria on what to count. All right. So the range that we're looking at in this particular formula is going to be the data that includes the quarter of the transaction. So I go back to data transactions. What I'm looking at is actually right here, which is, for me, column Q, right? It could be a different column for you, so pay attention to that. But so for column Q, that's what I want to look up, is for transactions. And for reference, I'm going to go ahead and make this an absolute reference. That is for future use. And I want that way I can copy this and reuse it multiple times and it won't change. So I'm going to type my comma, and the next thing I need is my criteria. So here I'm looking at this portion of my formula it's asking for, right? So that criteria actually exists right here in cell B7. Now, I'm going to tell you that Excel has a little bit of an issue with a couple of things, and I want to use these formulas over and over again. And when I clicked on B7, you notice that up here it gave me what I've highlighted, the sheet name, right? Because this represents the sheet name in the formula. So what I'm going to do is intentionally I am going to erase that. And I'm just going to let it say B7, right? And I know that it's still the correct cell because I can see there's a blue block over here, and the color of the reference B is blue of B7. I'm going to go ahead and finish that off. So now I have 725. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste all these down. And a thing to double check is right here at the bottom.